Welcome to the Ask for Football Army Football Show. The Army Football Show is an insider's guide for cadets, old grads, and college football fans to follow the Army team throughout their season as they seek to beat Navy and claim the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. Ask for Football is brought to you by our sponsor, Jocelyn Bradley Real Estate. Whether you're buying, selling, or just exploring your options, Jocelyn Bradley is the expert you can trust to navigate the real estate market with ease. Visit jocelynbradley.com to learn more. And let's get started at the Ask for Football Army Football Show.
Hello and welcome, Army fans. I am going to be your guest host today, James out of Texas. We got Rob here from Fayetteville, North Carolina, Dan in Coastal Connecticut, and special guest Zop. Where are you coming in from?
Northern Connecticut.
Northern Connecticut. Oh, man.
That's outnumbered today.
That's exactly what we need. Gents, how are we doing?
Good, man. Just for the listeners and viewers at home, when we started this season, half of the AFF crew had pregnant wives. And babies have started popping as the season has progressed, which is joyous news, obviously. Has made it hell on wheels trying to schedule this show. So, Zop, thank you very much for coming on today. I was not sure who was going to be on, so we're very happy to have you. And you're going to the game, so that's awesome too. So, yeah, man, thank you.
Speaking of popping out, if you want to pop out some properties on your search, we can go talk to our
Well played, sir.
Sponsor, Bob. Why don't you take us through that?
Well played. And I appreciate the segue. That was awesome. So if you listened to this show before, you know that we have a sponsor here. Her name is Jocelyn Bradley. If you're PCSing to Fort Bragg, we have the realtor for you. Jocelyn is a member of the Long Gray Line and the West Point class of 2010. She served as an Army logistic officer where she honed her passion for impacting people's lives. Now as a dedicated realtor, she brings the same commitment to helping you find your dream home. Jocelyn provides exceptional personalized service and seamless home buying experience tailored to your needs. Beyond Fort Bragg, Jocelyn has an extensive network of trusted veteran realtors that spans the country that are ready to support you no matter where your PCS takes you. Whether you're relocating locally or across the country, Jocelyn's recommendation come at no cost, and she can connect you with a group of professionals with integrity. As a proud supporter of the Ask for Football this season, Jocelyn is the realtor that you can trust to guide you into your new home. Reach out to her today and make your next move effortless. We have updated the copy because, like, we had people that were scratching their head and weren't sure if Jocelyn was a graduate. So we added that. We changed it a little bit, but it still meets the same point. She will help you find a new home if you're in the market and you don't technically, like, hey, look, if you leave an Army on an NIL move and you have enough money to buy a house, contact Jocelyn. Like, not to say that we want to encourage anyone to leave, but that said, she's there to help. Thanks.
All right. So Army's coming off the bye week, headed into Air Force. So for our review, we'll take you through the rest of the American Conference real quick and get some takes from the fellas. North Texas beats Charlotte 54-20 in a not close game. Memphis, fresh off of the UAB loss, beats number 18 South Florida 34-31. So Memphis is now your top-ranked American team in the polls. They scored 17 unanswered in the fourth quarter to win late. Quarterback Brandon Lewis started running the ball with a bad ankle, which that dual threat proved to be the difference late in that one. Rice beats UConn. UConn had come in winning 4 straight, was up most of the game, but Rice pulls it off in double overtime, 37-34. Navy beats FAU by 10, 42-32. That game was close early. Navy kind of ran away with it in the middle game, and then FAU made it a 10-point game late with the scrubs in. Temple beats Tulsa 38-37 in overtime. Tulsa, it was a come-from-behind overtime force in the fourth quarter. They forced that touchdown, forced overtime with that touchdown in the fourth quarter. They get the ball second in the first overtime and go for 2, something I think teams should do more often than they do. In this case, it didn't pay out for them. They missed their 2-point conversion and lost the game. It was a tight end jump pass set up by running a dive play to the tight end all game, but he got hit as he went to throw the ball. So it ended up not being a good pass, and Temple survives. Temple's having quite the year this year. Both Temple and Tulsa are considerably better than they were last year. I would say Temple a little bit more so. Let's go to takes on the game. Dan, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I guess so. More than anything, I just thought the conference is really strong as a whole. I mean, I don't think anybody thinks Rice is one of the better teams in the American Conference, but not only did they give UConn all they could handle in an absolutely empty stadium, but they beat UConn. And that UConn team had won 4 straight. You know, they've got 5 wins this season. They're definitely going to a bowl game, and they still couldn't beat kind of a lowly Rice squad in the American. And, you know, I couldn't decide if Temple crashed to earth or if Tulsa's better than I thought, but the game definitely didn't go the way I expected. Temple's offense looks incredible, but their defense left something to be desired, I thought, in the second half yesterday. So
I mean, Tulsa 28 points against Navy this year, I think. Like, they're much better than they were last year, for sure.
I still would have said that Temple was the better team.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I mean, they looked like the better team for the first half, but they definitely didn't look like the better team in the second half. So,
yeah, and we'll go to Rob's takes in a second. I just want to point out, you know, a lot of people when this conference rating goes on and, you know, the American loses SMU, they lose Houston, they lose Cincinnati, they lose UCF, right? A lot of people think, oh, well, they're just going to be a worse conference now. And to an extent, that's true. But also these new schools coming in have been operating on, you know, $1 million to $2 million a year football budgets because that's what they're getting in TV revenue from their old conferences. They're not immediately jumping to the $7 million that the American's getting. But UTSA has probably, you know, doubled, almost tripled their football revenue, their conference revenue over the last 2 to 3 years. So eventually that's going to turn around and those teams are going to get better when their budgets increase. And that's what we're seeing, I think, this year in the American, whereas you didn't see it as much last year. Rob.
Yeah, so I think, you know, Navy might be in trouble this weekend. The way North Texas has been playing, they turn a lot. They force a lot of turnovers, and sometimes with their aggressiveness to create explosives, Navy gets sloppy. So that's going to play right into the hands of the North Texas defense. You know, you got to say this. It's the middle 8 that Navy typically wins, and when they win that middle 8, they usually win the game. And so that's one of the difficult prospects for them. But I think North Texas has enough offense to make it competitive. Do not be surprised if there's like 80 points scored in this game. It's going to be a shootout. That would be my guess on that one. Hey, Memphis was able to close it out, right? When they played South Florida. South Florida, good squad. Memphis, good squad. But, you know, the difference in the game is being able to close it out. 17 unanswered points. You know, that basically is the story there. Looking at you know, as Dan mentioned, is Temple playing down to their competition when they played against Tulsa, or just was it an off day? Because both of those teams have been incredibly inconsistent all season. You know, you don't know what you're going to get when you watch a Temple or Tulsa game, but hopefully they continue that downward trend when they play Army. And and being honest, right now, it's kind of a 4-person or 4-team race in the American right now between Tulane, Navy, Memphis, and South Florida, and you know, it just sees who's going to take the bigger tumble later in the season, right? Because we know that, you know, Navy still has to play North Texas, that's going to be a slobber knocker, like I said. But, you know, if USF can run the table or Tulane can run the table, I mean, it kind of says itself. Like, I personally, you know, I was telling a guy that's a old Navy guy at church. I was like, I hope Navy goes undefeated until like the last week of the season, to be quite honest. Like, I hope they run the table and then we whoop their butts. But that is all I got for this week on that. Over.
The other thing of note in college football, it happened actually 2 weeks ago, but they had an off week last week. UNLV, previously undefeated, loses to Boise State. Boise State is a 2-loss team that also lost to South Florida opening week of the season. So it's shaping up very nicely for the American Conference champion to end up getting that group of 5 spot, that last automatic bid in the playoff. Zop, you got anything?
Yeah, I actually like Tulane. I think Tulane's built a little bit better, certainly on the defensive side of the ball. You could see the front 4, you know, when we needed critical yards, first down late in the game, they bowed up. And they have strong linebacking core that fills gaps, and they have run stoppers on both sides of the inside. So it is definitely Tulane stacks up against Navy very well. I'd love to see, as far as them enter into the final conference, as far as championship-wise, if Navy does get to the championship, their schedule all year has leaned towards getting there because of the strength of overall schedule. But if they do get there, it's that extra week that they have to play and get a couple more bruises before they line up against Army, which seems to be just a 180 off from last year.
Now, granted, Navy still has South Florida and Memphis on their schedule to close out the year, so that's two of the top teams there.
And by the way, Notre Dame.
Right, but that won't count in the conference standings. But yeah. And if Navy's an American Conference champion, they're not going to care about a Notre Dame loss when they're comparing to a 2-loss Boise State or something like that. All right, so let's move into Dan scaring everybody.
Shall we play a game?
All right, so hot on the heels of the discussion that we just had, according to the ESPN, which group of 5 teams, there are 4 that we want this week, have the best chance to get to the playoff, and what are their chances?
So how do we want to do this? You want to like rank them? Because I'm not going to guess I
want to know who is on top and what their percentage is, who's in second, what their percentage is, who's in third, what their percentage is, who's in fourth, and what their percentage is.
All right. Well,
we'll start with Zop since he's our guest. So which team in the group of 5 has the highest chance to go to the playoff, and what approximate percentage chance do they have?
I'm gonna go Tulane, and I'm gonna put them at a 12% chance.
Okay. Shall I hold your answers to the end or tell you where they stand?
Hold.
Tell us.
Okay. Tulane is currently ranked. ESPN estimates that they will be ranked 20th in the college football playoff ranking. They have a 16% chance to get in.
Where do they rank out of group of 5 teams?
Fourth.
Fourth.
Wow.
Which means
I find that odd as well, but this is where we are. Yeah.
So it's like Navy at like 24% or something.
Navy's not even on this list.
Navy's not on the list because of the strength of schedule left.
Yeah, for sure.
The Memphis, they're going to respect Memphis with that win over South Florida. Memphis has got to be 1 or 2. And I'm going to go with 24% chance.
Okay. They are number 2 with a 19% chance. So you're close. Okay. Rob, you have two chances to get this. You just have to figure out which team is in first and which team is in third.
If it was last year, I'd say JMU, but I ain't in there. I would say maybe UNLV, even though they lost, they're out. Okay.
USF is currently in first place still, despite the loss at 28%.
They're going to put Boise at 3, right?
Nope. It's still a team. All 4 of these teams are in the American. Got one left.
North Texas.
North Texas with want to guess a percentage?
7%.
18%.
18%.
So wow. USF has 28% at 15. Memphis has 19% at 18. North Texas.
Here's the thing, though. Whatever percentage they give North Texas and whatever percentage they give Navy is going to be consolidated this weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, for sure. So North Texas very much still in the hunt despite taking a loss to USF because USF lost.
And then that same thing will happen to Navy. And the reason that Navy's so low right now is because they have not played North Texas, they have not played Memphis, and they have not played South Florida yet.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of consolidation along those lines as soon as that happens.
Yep, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. All right, let's move into our rankings of group of 5 teams to our number 1 ranking of lenders in the country. Dan.
There you go. Friends, this show is sponsored by Craig Oxane. He is a mortgage broker, a member of the West Point class of 1994, and an area sales manager for the Money Store. Craig is licensed to lend in all 50 states, but based out of Chicago. He is one of the most successful VA lenders in the country. Craig is going to offer you super competitive rates, giving you the best deal that he possibly can. And this is important because the mortgage process is super confusing. Interest rates move all over the place, and it's just not the time to try to deal with some clown who just wants to make a buck off you. You want to deal with someone who actually cares, not a call center, not a random box bank or a mindless website. You want to deal with somebody you can pick up the phone and ask them questions about your mortgage, right? And this is how the West Point Network functions. Craig is helping us stay in business here at Ask for Football, and we are trying to help you get the best deal on a mortgage that we possibly can by introducing you to the very man that you need to meet. Plus, Craig does not charge lending fees for veterans. That's a huge savings. It's like $1,300. Guys, save yourself $1,300. So Craig Oxane, area sales manager for the Money Store. Check him out. His link's on our website. So is Jocelyn's. Just go to askforfootball.com. They both got the little business cards there. You click on them, buy your house, get a mortgage, one-stop shop. It's too easy.
All right, so let's get into Air Force. I'm not going to bore you guys with stats too much, but we'll talk a little bit about Air Force and to get into some takes. So offense, let's start there. Liam Sarka is there. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not. Szarka, throwing quarterback for an option team. Now, it's not to say he's not a running quarterback. He's their lead rusher too, but he's got almost 1,100 yards in the air and almost 800 on the ground, a little over 700 on the ground. Air Force's offense, very good. All right, they're a top 5 rushing offense in the country in terms of yards per game. They're averaging 5.4 yards per carry. All of the earmarks that you want if you're a triple option offense. Now, they do pass a little bit more than you're used to in a triple option offense, but it's working for them. They're scoring lots of points. They have the number 2 scoring offense in their conference behind UNLV, who we've talked a lot about. And then you get to their running back core. Well, their running backs, they have a couple of fullbacks who get more than 4 yards per carry and a couple of slotbacks who get more than 4 yards per carry. One of those slotbacks is actually a wide receiver who's the main target. He's kind of like a Noah Short out there. He gets a lot of rushing yards, but he's also a good passing threat. That's Cade Harris. And then they love their tight end, Bruin Fleshman. He's a little. They don't throw to him a lot. He's got 15 catches on the year. It's a decent amount. They love him in the red zone. He's got 4 touchdowns. They love to put him one-on-one on the perimeter and throw to him. So always got to keep an eye out for him in some of those short distance scenarios and some of those red zone scenarios. They're 2-5 this year. So if their offense is this good, that says some things about their defense. You want to take us through that, Rob?
Yeah. So the thing that I would say about the Air Force defense, it's a sieve, right? Like they can't stop anybody, and that's part of their problem. If you're watching this as an Air Force fan, you're like, oh man, we just need one stop. You know what I mean? And most of their games are like, oh, we just need one stop, and it can be the difference in the ball game. They average 484 yards per game. That's 136 out of FBS schools. That's not glamorous. They're 100
dead last.
Yeah, that is 100% dead last. So they're 104th ranked in rushing defense. They allow 177 yards per game, but that's 5.5 yards a carry. And opponents convert about 53% of their third downs against them. So like your opportunity is there. 117th in the red zone, 10 rushing touchdowns given away, 6 passing touchdowns, 7 field goals, all on just 25 red zone attempts. So if you get in the red zone, you're scoring against their defense. And that's kind of the opposite of what Army would do, right? So bend but don't break and then lock them down in the red zone. They have a very young defense. Junior Blake Fresher leads the team with 47 tackles. After that, you've got 3 sophomore defensive backs. And the drill. If you're a college football fan and your safeties, corners are making all the tackles, your defense is very porous. And that means, somebody's soaking up those blocks for those free safeties to make a tackle. Whoever heard that? Like nobody coaches that way, right? I mean, you don't. Like if your free safeties run around like a wild man, unless his name is John Lynch, and I'm dating myself by saying that, he's not coming up on the line and making tackles. And so that's the biggest thing. So you have sophomore Roger Jones Jr. has 48 tackles and 2 interceptions. And then the freshman Max Mustel has 34 tackles and 2 passes defended with 2 picks. As a team, Air Force has a -1 turnover margin. They have 4 picks and 2 fumble recoveries. Their offense has lost 4 interceptions and 3 fumbles as well. I mean, it's like they're not even opportunistic. They get points, they get the ball back to their offense, and their offense gives it away. I mean, that's complimentary football. I mean, that's all you can say about that.
I think they actually have fewer turnovers than Army does this year. It's just the real thing is the lack of turnovers that their defense is getting.
I mean, Army was turning the ball over like it was a hot potato in the first 2 games.
Right.
So, and the Black Knights are back to 0, by the way, on the season.
Yeah.
Right.
So
it's been much cleaner recently. Dana, you want to take special teams? And then
I would love to. I guess turnabout's fair play. Place kicker Reagan Tubbs took over kicking duties against Wyoming. Guy he replaced had not been able to consistently make field goals beyond 35 yards. He went 2 of 2 on extra points and 3 of 3 on field goals with a make of 40 yards against Wyoming. That was on a windy day at Air Force, so that was actually a marked improvement over what they had previously. Punter Luke Freer hit a couple of 50-plus yarders as well against Wyoming. It's worth noting maybe that Navy broke a 43-yard kickoff return against this team last month when they played. So I don't know that Army will run this out of the end zone, but this might be one of those times when they try it once or twice. We'll see.
Now, Air Force fans might be quick to point out that they've lost 2 games by 3 points in which they've missed field goals. I think it's kind of hard to blame your field goal kicker when you're losing 52-49 and or whatever it was, 51-48. One of the teams.
Would Army like to talk about losing games on missed field goals this year? Is that what we're
maybe
doing?
So. I'm saying it's hard to blame your kicker when you give up 51 points. It's also hard to blame your kicker in a CIC game when you have a chance to go ahead at the end of the game and you go, you can't punch it in, and then
put the ball on the ground.
Put the ball on the ground, right? Yeah. So. Not that their kicking wasn't a problem, but I wouldn't call that the primary reason they lost those games. Let's get into takes. So I'm going to start off takes with a question.
Wait. Can we do weather and betting lines before we move on?
Oh, sure. Sweet. So Colorado Springs weather is Colorado Springs weather. In fact, the skies are not cloudy all day. It can get snowy, but right now weather is nice. And warmer by about 10 degrees than what we're getting on the East Coast. Mostly sunny, mid 60s, 5 to 10 miles of wind with a nice day of football. Army opened at a 1.5 point favorite, kind of went all over the place. Now we're 2.5 point favorites, but you can still find 1.5. I am pretty sure no one knows what the hell's going on with Army or Air Force this season in the general betting market. And so, have fun.
It's just weird because you can find Army giving a 1.5 away or getting a 1.5. I mean, I've never seen that before. At the same time.
I have a hot betting take for the over-under, gentlemen.
Okay.
Sure.
Over-under of 49.5 is egregious to me. Hammer that under. We'll get into it on takes.
All right.
But let's start the takes with a question that I'm going to pose to all of you. I'll give you my take after I've heard all yours so that I can steal and borrow things. But here, my initial thought is why I think you should hammer the under. Do you think this game is a track meet game?
No.
I mean, Army has played 0 track meet games all season.
Now, Air Force has played only track meet games this season.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't change the fact that Army's going to run for 4 yards a carry all game long, no matter what else happens.
I agree. I think Air Force's defense, and particularly their rush defense. I mean, their rush defense is like, usually when you have a bad defense, you're like, okay, well, they're really bad at pass defense, but they're okay-ish. No, they just have a horrible pass defense and a horrible rush defense. Yeah. Like they're bottom 3 to 5 in the country in both. So I think Army's offensive line controls the game on offense. I think they run, if they're getting a 7-minute drive, it's because they broke a 75-yard run. And to be honest with you, if you have a lead and you break a run, sit that fullback down. We need him rested so he can get 4 more yards of carry and run the clock. I don't want to get into a track meet, all right? Yeah. I want to just churn clock. And I think if Army's offensive line can control the clock throughout the game, which I think they'll be able to do, how does it turn into a track meet, and how do you score 49.5 points?
So it seems like it's going to be about a 100-yard dash, and the one guy that I'm particularly concerned about is Cade Harris. Cade Harris proved himself to go over top of Navy, so I'm going to try and put comparative defenses and situations, environment as far as an academy game. Cade Harris is going to be trouble for us because us playing bend don't break. Talk about the first quarter and a half of ECU is that showed Cade Harris and Fleischman and Quinn Smith, who have all broken off larger catches and big sums of yards. that's a problem. And I think that, all the offense run through Zarka. He can throw the ball vertically. They do have vertical threats, and they have a seam threat. So whether or not Fleischman's going to be, the guy down in the red zone, he is going to be somebody who's going to be a problem on the seams for us, because we haven't had an answer for that. We've made tackles, but I don't think we've contended as many passes, made as many pass breakups throughout the season. We've made them isolated during certain games. But I think that's the matchup we got to be most concerned about, and would lend the most to a one side of the ball Air Force potential track meet.
I will say I do think there are a few marked differences between Army and Navy's defenses in terms of what they're trying to do. Navy gets a little bit more creative with their corners, so on and so forth. And so there's a potential for those types of players to get behind, those Noah Short types of players to get behind your defense. I don't know. I mean, Army's gotten beat deep in some like one-on-one. You just got a two-lane dude out there, but I don't think I've seen Army get beat in like missed coverage deep more than maybe once or twice the whole year.
As far as, so I would say it's still vertical, maybe not deep as far as behind you, but I would say pressing it. And to tell you the truth is, when there's no linebackers or that second level of coverage, there are holes in that defense. So that lends you to 15, 20 yards, somewhere, thin posts, go take ball position. And
if somebody misses a tackle, screwed.
Sure. Now I'd say Army's been very good about making those tackles, and I think that Nate Woody's position would be fine. You can hit those 15-yarders all day. You can't hit them inside the 10-yard line, and then we'll stop you, and we'll force you to kick field goals instead of score touchdowns, and that's generally their scheme. But you're right. We have seen a lot of these teams try to gash you for 10 to 15. I will say the teams that have done better against Army have completed a lot of those passes, where some of these schools like UAB, where Army's had better success against, you get one of those incomplete and it kills your drive. So that'll be something to keep an eye on for sure.
The biggest thing about that ECU game is that Colin Madison was out, and he might be the best defensive player on the team right now. So that was, I think that lent itself quite a bit to why they were getting burned early and why it took an adjustment to fix that.
Yeah. And that's where he lives, right? He doesn't. Yeah,
that's his job, is to not have that shit happen. Right.
I mean, just think at the Kansas State game, every play he made was within 8 to 20 yards from the line of scrimmage. Yeah. Dan, you got any other thoughts on the game?
I've been back and forth about how I want to see Army approach this game. I mean, we talked about this last week. Generally, I'd like to see Army do more 2-minute type offensive setups, just because they've been very good at that all year. And I don't necessarily mean go away from the flex bone, but they could just hurry, because they've been outstanding with it. Every time they do it, they move right down the field. But this week, as you talked about, because of the way Air Force's defensive inexperience, I think you just try to pound the rock, keep their offense on the sidelines, and look for your opportunities, which is about what you would normally want Army to do. And on defense, it's a tough matchup. As they play stout in the red zone and they don't get beat, they'll be all right. I will say this was a good week for the team to get a bye, because there was a lot of academic stuff going on. And so they also needed to turn the page after that emotional Tulane loss. This team is pretty similar to Tulane if you think about what they're trying to do, especially on offense. And Army held Tulane in check, and there's no universe where you can convince me that Air Force is better than the Green Wave. So I'm hoping that we can make that work.
So here's a question for you, Dan. Why? So ordinarily, if you were playing Air Force like we were last year, and you asked me, what does a game plan look like this week? I'd say, not a lot of standard triple option stuff, a lot of shotgun, a lot of weird looks, a lot of trickeration, a lot of reverses, because, when you play these CIC games, you want to give them things that they're not used to seeing. And these coaches kind of know each other's offenses inside and out.
Yeah.
And that's what we did see. Now, we had the weird wrinkle last year where we had Dwayne Coleman in, but everyone kind of said, we don't think they're running a different offense right now because it's Dwayne Coleman. We think they're running a different offense because it's Air Force.
Well, remember the second half was just handoff to Kanye Udo. It
was a handoff literally to Kanye Udo or a shotgun zone QB read. It was that every single play, and they had the lead to do it, which was great. But even in the first half, it wasn't very like it wasn't like it was a normal offense or anything like that. It feels like part of me feels like they need to run the same offense that they would run out there against UAB, because this Air Force defense and this defensive front is so bad that it doesn't matter that their coaching staff knows what we're going to do. Our offensive line is just going to pummel them, and that will give us the advantage in this game. On the other hand, it is a CIC game, and playbook creativity matters. So where do you fall on that spectrum?
Well, let's go back 2 years, right? Because I've always thought that this season looked a lot like the 2023 season. And I kind of think that again. So, they ran a lot of shotgun, not even shotgun option, just power shotgun with occasional passes. And that is definitely how I would like to see this start. And if Air Force, for whatever reason, manages to clog up the middle, then I would like to see them, run some of those RPO option type things that they were running against K-State that have disappeared, that are obviously in Cale Hellam's wheelhouse. They don't have to run 10 of them, but they could stand to run 5 and a half. For me personally, you complete a couple. If you roll him out and complete a couple of passes, the defense either changes or they die.
Here's what I think I'd like to see. I think this is the slotbacks not named Noah Short appreciation game.
Yeah, I think so.
Air Force has one linebacker
Yep.
that does the lion's share of the entire defense.
Yes.
That linebacker is going to be glued to Noah Short. They're also going to sell out to the fullback dive and to the Cale Hellam's dive. So Army needs to find a way to get the ball to their non-Noah Short slotbacks on the perimeter quickly and test that defensive edge of Air Force, because it's vulnerable. And I think that's a huge key to this game.
Well, I would even say run your offense. I mean,
Yeah.
This is the one thing that is, if we don't show any threat whatsoever to throw the ball, any team can walk 8 people in the box, 9 people in the box, and shut you down. So that right there is hell. I'd love to see us pound away, stay true to the fullback, hammer away, quarterback follow. That type of stuff I think is bread and butter. But how about a flood route? Little stuff on 3 layers coming across, whatever, turns into an RPO, and we know Helms can run the ball. So run your offense. I think that if we stay balanced, as much as, we are, imbalanced in premise, I think as long as we stay true to just run us, if we're going to throw trickeration, do it in the first half. Okay, what Navy did to us last year had us on our heels for the remainder of the game, and usually fourth quarter trickeration doesn't work. You're sitting there waiting on it. So stay true to what we do really well as a football team. It is to pound away, quarterback. Then you got that little delay, counter, quarterback counter, come back to the other side. That type of stuff I think will keep Air Force not from crowding the box. And also on their heels, waiting, let plays develop, which is perfect for us. And that's what I feel like
trickeration. So there's a reason why the Army legs of the CIC trophy tend to be the lowest scoring ones, and why when you see shootouts, it's Navy and Air Force. I think that part of that is that Monken just doesn't like taking risks in the first half. He'd rather say, I don't like, even almost to a fault. And I'm not saying that he's wrong to do this, but almost to a fault, he'd say, I'd rather this be an interesting game in the fourth quarter that's winnable than take the shot in the second quarter that can, give us 7 points.
We saw that against K-State. That's exactly what they did.
Right. So, so I don't know, this is the first time, there's always a level of trickeration that you expect in play calling, not necessarily full on trick plays, but just changes in the way they run these plays that you expect going into a service academy game.
Well, heck, they used to call that passing with us.
Yes. So I guess this is the first time where I'm going into this game, and I sort of think, if they do some weird stuff, that would kind of surprise me a little bit. And if they run full on trick plays, that would actually kind of surprise me a little bit. So it's a little bit of a weird feeling going into a CIC leg. Rob, what do you got?
Yeah, so surprise, I'm going to say front 7 play, right? Our offensive line is significantly bigger than their defensive line. Just push them out of the way. Just run them over. Just run them over. Like normally when you watch Air Force play, they typically have like a nose guard that's like a superstar. They don't have that guy this year. So attack the middle. The fullback dive will be there, right? And maybe you change the blocking scheme from going from something traditional to like maybe stretch plays. You're doing zone blocking and reach blocking rather than just your straight up, run blocking. The other part of it is as Ken noted in the chat, like, hey, toss sweep, man. Like if you got a linebacker that is, Mr. All-American running from sideline to sideline, turn his game into a track meet. Like if he's running from sideline to sideline, he's going to get smoked, right? He's not going to be able to stay there. And then the other part of it is keep testing those corners. And if you've been watching the way that teams have been covering Noah Short on the defensive side of the ball, slant is open all day long, all day. So if the slant is open, throw a couple of those and that will change. That's your change up right there. Like you don't have to throw a game breaking play. And that's one of the things that I would caution both teams in doing. Air Force is going to do it just because that's the way their offenses run all season. Army doesn't have to because we can put together drives, but don't chase explosives, right? Too many teams, like particularly in the CIC games, you're chasing explosives, and those explosives, like you live by the gun, you die by the gun, right? You either get a 65-yard touchdown or you throw a pick six. And in this kind of game, like that's a very likely scenario, but I still think it's going to come down to front seven play. Army's got better linebackers. Army has a better defensive line. Use your edge rushers in coverage, right? When we use the edge rushers in coverage, and fake a blitz or change a blitz package, it creates more chaos for the quarterback because he's thinking, okay, this guy's just going to rush me. I just got to watch, where he is on the field. And maybe that turns a 5-step drop into a 3-step drop, or you make him make a mistake. Make the quarterback make a mistake because your defensive scheme is slightly different. Give him the same look. And then for Air Force, if they go into cover zero, they're smoked, right? Like today, like I'll say it now, I'm hoping that this is true. Samari Howard is going to have the game of his life because that guy is one of the best athletes on the field. And,
good pass catcher.
Yeah, he can catch the ball. You put him and Noah Short on twins on the right side. Who's covering those guys? You have to move a safety over. You have to. And if you don't move a safety over and you put him in cover zero, put some cornerback out on the island, I would venture a guess that Noah Short has a speed one-on-one to beat that guy. So you're going to have to move a safety over the top, and that opens up a whole bunch of stuff in the middle. But, yeah, very winnable game, and then on the defensive side, they just got to tackle. I mean, I think that's been the biggest inconsistency when Army has not played well this year. It's not because they're not in position. It's because they're not making like the run fits against the run fits against UAB were amazing, and then you go to the next game and you're like, hey, what happened, guys? Like, I mean, I know that the athletes are not that big of a difference, and it's guys just have bad games, but I think not to compliment on them, they can't take the rat poison either, like don't even look at the betting lines or anything like that because it'll get inside your head. Best thing you do is play your game, and like if there's an in-game parlay, your in-game parlay is like how many 100-yard rushers does Army have against Air Force because they're going to get it. I mean, like, again, if we have zero passes, I'll be fine with it. But if they throw, I mean, I think it's going to be a shock to everybody's system because we haven't thrown consistently all season. So, I mean, that's probably something that could happen too.
So Ken pointed out Robinson wheel route catch during the 2020 Air Force game was the last unconservative play I can remember. That was where Dan and I met in person for the first time. And I don't remember that seeming particularly unconservative. Like it was 0-0 in the second half and nobody could run anything. Yeah. And so they were like, well, let's throw something else out there before we punt again. And it happened to work. Like it was, it was not a risk. There was no interception risk or anything like that. It was a pretty easy, either it's there or it's not. And if it's not, we throw it away and punt.
One thing I'd like to say is it doesn't seem like Air Force, of the 3 service academies, it seems like Air Force is struggling the most with NIL in the sense that was the last time that I think their defense looked really good, was maybe 2021 or 2022. I mean, it seems like they've been having these young teams a couple of years in a row. And how do you have a young team, like such a young team 2 years in a row? That's wild. I mean, that's wacky.
I mean, I would say Army's team last year was fairly young and they lost a good deal to the portal. The defensive front had 2 or 3 graduations, but we lost a safety and a corner to the portal, which hurt us.
Sure.
But
I mean,
yeah,
but they're still like on offense. That that I think the losses to graduation on the O-line are probably
Yeah.
more of the
Biggest-
story than anything else.
that's fair.
So,
All right, let's go to our next segment.
hold on one second. I will find it. Here it is.
Fact
That is correct.
or fiction?
Incorrect.
All right, last week or 2 weeks ago, excuse me, Dan said that Army would hold Tulane to 125 yards rushing. It was close. It's 141. Should have said 150. Rob said fact. Dan and Jordan said fiction. Rob said Helms has 150 yards rushing. He hit 155 and threw for another 125. Everyone said fact except for Jordan was the negative Nancy. I said Noah Short has more receiving yards than rushing yards. That was fiction. He only had one catch for 11 yards. He had 7 carries for 23. He's getting a lot of attention, which doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but is very helpful. Said fact. Firsty Club, no missed field goals. Unfortunately, that was fiction, even though we all said fact. Let's go to this week. Firsty Club, let me know. I'm taking over the spot this week as host.
Oh, I've got one in here already from them. Actually, I've got 2 in here. They submitted these when they submitted the mailbag questions.
Gotcha. Dan, you want to go first?
Sure. Army holds Liam Zarka under 50% completion percentage.
Oh gosh, what's he been?
61.
Yeah, 61.
But if you look at UAB, what's his name? He a lot. It's pretty common for these quarterbacks to be well under their percentage all season. That was true against Tulane as well.
I'll say fact.
Okay. Anybody else want to get on the bandwagon with me and James?
Yeah, I'll say fact, but I'm gonna say there's 2 drops. Facts with 2 drops.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm going to go fiction.
Okay. Thank you for not believing in my fact or fiction.
Yeah, I had to break it up.
Rob, you're up next.
Yeah, Army forces a turnover that leads to points. So scoop and score, pick 6, or ensuing drive, Army scores after a turnover.
That's gonna kind of go with my fact or fiction. So I'm gonna say fact because I think if they get a turnover, unless it's like at the end of the half, if they get a turnover and they have the time to score, they will score.
Yeah, I'm going to say fact as well.
Oddly, I'm going to go fact because this is a big momentum game, and you know how much these 2 coaches love each other. So I'm sure that we're not going to be going after them at all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rob,
Sure.
you're going fact agreement?
I think it'll be fact agreement on that one.
All right. I do have one.
Okay.
Fact or fiction. I'm going to call a Colin Madison interception.
That's very specific.
He's from Kansas, big game in Kansas State. He comes up big, gets the interception. Another big, I think he's a big game player. Against Air Force, on the road again. I see an interception.
All right.
I'm going to go fiction because I think he will run through, that vertical threat, cause a fumble instead.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna say fact. Screw it. Even though I don't know how much I believe in that one, but
this is the classic example of it costs nothing to be nice, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, we had I talk about this all the time. We had him. We interviewed him before the season, and he was awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna say fact.
Nice. Rob,
I'm gonna say fiction because sometimes the reason why those guys play defense is because they don't have the pants to play offense. I think it's going to hit them in the hands, and I think we're going to have one of those moments where everybody's going to be like, "Yeah, oh damn it!"
that
That's the
happens
other safety.
seemingly 3 times.
Tip
a
drill.
game.
Come on, man. Tip drill. Cradle.
All right.
What's
Mike
the
Davis.
other safety's name that Larkin? Larkin's
yeah.
the one that's dropped like 5 interceptions this season.
Yeah.
Mike Davis says Army runs a reverse or a halfback pass. I don't think I've ever watched an Army game where they didn't run one of those. So I'm going to say fact.
Yeah, I will say fact as well. I don't know. I'm like 50-50 on the halfback pass because why? It almost seems like you're taking a chance in a game when I hope that doesn't come up.
Hey man, like you're not watching the roster. God's power's in, right? They're putting him in the backfield. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah.
have a guy that can throw the ball.
All right.
I'm not going to say stranger things have happened, but stranger things have happened. I'll say fact on that too.
All right.
Noah can throw the ball. I'm going to go fact.
All right.
Firsty Club, Army throws 2 touchdown passes against Air Force's inexperienced secondary. God, I hope not. Fiction.
Yeah, I'm going to go fiction as well. That's just not what they want to do.
Yeah.
I think they might throw a little bit, but I don't know how much I believe it. The way that they pounded the rock in 2023 with that's how they're going to do it with Cal Helms. You're going to see that game again if it works.
Well, the 2023 game was a little weird because Air Force had 7 turnovers or something crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't understand how that's not the game that we think we're going to see this year.
I don't think Army's going to have 6 short fields where they never need to pass because they're up by 21 points before which way which way is up.
All right, agree to disagree.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think we're throwing 2 touchdown passes. Just like that game was such an anomaly from an offensive game plan standpoint, where you're getting 6 short fields, and oh, by the way, your new quarterback Bryson Daly pumps off a 70-yard run at the beginning of the game, and you're up 4 scores. You're like, well, crap, I don't need to do anything else today. Like. There's no necessity to throw the ball. I think you'll see slightly more passing in this game if it becomes necessary. It never became necessary in that game is sort of my point.
True.
But
Rob?
let's go. Oh yeah, Rob.
Yeah, I'm gonna say fiction for one
All
reason and one reason only. Kel Helms does not follow his progression.
Uh,
I look at one dude and I'm running, and in a game like that, like a quarterback like him who wants to win, he's going to freaking look once. If the guy's not open, he's tucking and running. So I'm going to say fiction.
Zop?
I'm going to fiction. Just offensive line, get in the red zone, just pushing guys around. So I don't think
fiction
we need
agreement.
to. Yeah.
All right.
Sweet. All right, let's move on.
You've got mail.
All right, now that we've appeased our friends across the pond, we have some questions from the Firsty Club. If you join the Firsty Club, you get to ask us questions, as well as a bunch of other cool benefits like our game day chat. So go ahead and do that if you are interested. This week's mailbag, start with Brian Brennan. How many more seasons like this do we think Troy Calhoun can survive? Do we think that he's on the hot seat? I'll start with this one. I don't think so. You have a grad, a grad who's coaching your team, has been the coach for forever. Last year, he turned it around halfway through the year, had monumental losses this year. I don't think anyone in the administration has any delusions about if we had this person as a coach who's a gettable coach, we would have had 6 wins this year right now instead of 2. I just don't see that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, 2 years ago they won 10 games.
Yeah.
It looked like they were going to go to the college football playoff.
They're about to enter a really weak Mountain West. They're
Yeah.
probably going to be a competitor for the Mountain West championship on an annual basis because the 5 best teams are leaving. I don't see that.
Yeah. Dave from the Firsty Club commented, I live in Colorado and hear nothing about him and being on any type of hot seat. Frankly, you don't hear much about Air Force at all. Calhoun is pretty secretive, and I think it's having an effect on their interest in the program. I don't know. That's we're obviously outside the circle there, but
Right.
be interested to hear what Air Force grads think about that.
Yeah. Mike Torty says, does Army have to throw for 100 yards this week to beat Air Force? I think they have to throw at least 8 times to loosen up the running game. What do you think? I think we kind of talked about this. Zop, you want to take that?
Yeah, I would probably say 100 is a little bit too much. I think that definitely the threat of throwing between 60 and 80 yards is enough to at least have that decompression and keep that extra person out of the box.
I think there's also we talked about it earlier. There's a bit of being able to widen the box with perimeter running that can have a similar effect where you don't need to throw. And with the linebacker and the defensive front 7 the way they are, throwing isn't necessarily required, but it'll be interesting to see. Rob, I'm going to take this one. Mike Davis asks, assignment football be damned with how concentrated Air Force's quarterback is. Why not sell out to stop him and make another running back beat you?
Well, I mean, that it sounds like an interesting question at the beginning, but the reality of it is like he distributes the ball well, right? So they still run the triple pretty well. He still throws the ball pretty well. So you can come after him. And if that guy gets over the top, it really depends on what kind of defense your defensive scheme, right? So if you stay with assignment football, you have somebody taking the quarterback, you have somebody taking the pitch man. If you sell out to take out the quarterback, then the option is going to be open, and he's a quick passer. So then you're going to create opportunities down the field. Because if I put my corners on an island and go cover zero to shut down the quarterback, you're setting yourself up for those vertical passes that they're trying to get anyway.
I want to get this stat right for everybody. So their top six rushers all average more than 5 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Right. Their quarterback is at 5.6. Their two fullback, they don't necessarily listed that way, but the two 215-pound running backs average 7.2 and 5.2. And then their two speedsters, one of them is listed as a running back, one's listed as a wide receiver, are 5.9 and 5.2. And then they have Terrence Gist. He was the top rusher, I think, last year against Army, but has sort of fallen off this year. He's only got 11 carries, but he's still averaging 5.1.
Yeah,
so
you've got ball distribution, man. Like I hear what you're saying. I understand the desire to he's not Mike Vick. You know what I mean? Like you knock him out of the game, you probably still have a chance of losing. Because
my first spy is on the Cade Harris, not the quarterback.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna spend a guy to spy someone, I'm gonna catch their most explosive player. Like the quarterback, he has to work his way into being explosive, whereas that wide receiver, if he gets loose, like that's a whole different set of damage.
Yeah,
just throw the ball. I think that Fortner on Zarka is the spy I would do. He has a lot of good delay blitzes. If you have a little twist inside, I say you shoot him and make sure that there is a disruption in the passing game. Do not let Zarka beat you.
Yeah.
All right.
West Point Dave asks, Air Force is super young secondary. How do you take advantage of that youth? Both corners and free safety are sophomores, strong safety's a plebe, or whatever they call them, dualies, I think. And the Spur is a sophomore. 3 of the backups to those positions are also dualies. So I would just say, again, Army's not going to win this game by passing and winning a track meet. So knowing that those options are there when it comes time for them, yes, it's important, but I don't think you go in with a game plan of saying we need to target, the secondary, like get your guys open on the perimeter. And if the perimeter ends up in a long run because Noah Short is up against a freshman, then so be it. But I'm not running, my wide receiver out there 6 times just because they have a young secondary, right?
So think about go ahead.
I was just going to say, no defensive back likes to get hit in the face by tight ends and tackles, right? So just set the edge and go after them, right?
Yeah,
that's the best way to attack them. They're young, and then as you start to lull them into the false sense of security, or they start cheating up because they think the option play is coming, then you throw over their head. You set up the pass with the run.
We've seen multiple times this year where, I think ECU and Tulane both had outstanding run stuffing safeties. And so think about it this way, right? If you can get your offensive line to get to the second level and get a good block on that one good linebacker that they have, then now you've got Carson Smith 101 against a plebe strong safety. You know what? I'll take that all day. And that's right in Army's wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's just, and hopefully, part of taking advantage is that Bryson Daly effect of okay, I'm a 200 plus pound guy. By the time that I'm being tackled, there are 2 guys that have kind of slowed me down, but now I'm up against a 185-pound corner. You might tackle me because I've already kind of been tripped, but I'm getting 2 or 3 more yards falling forward. So just making sure that they're always doing that is a great way to take advantage as well. Ryan McDonald finally asks, how much of an effect, if any, does the noon start time have on the game? It's a 10 a.m. local. In terms of West Point time, what's that? 50,
Same.
Be,
12 our time.
Oh, it'd be 12 our time, 10 a.m. local.
Right.
Do you know when they fly out? They usually fly out there Tuesday or Wednesday, so enough time to acclimate. What do you think?
I think that's huge. Actually, I think that's probably that dislocation of playing that early is probably equal to about the same thing as the altitude difference. I mean, neither of those things is going to cost you the game, but it's weird. If you're not used to playing that early, that's weird.
Schedules. I mean, it's creatures of habit, getting up and you eat at a certain time and you go to your meetings and watch film, all that kind of stuff. It's a combination of both that and the altitude. Altitude does affect you. It's different. The surf is different. You're playing away from home. And so there's a lot of factors. I don't think it'll be the end all, but a 10 a.m. local kickoff will have an effect.
Yeah. All right. And lastly, we'll go to favorite thing. I got one. Anyone else got something?
Just to say, Zop, thank you for coming on. Take some pictures so we can use them in the recap.
Yeah. Absolutely. My favorite thing is invading foreign territory. So it's been a long time coming. Looking forward to it. Got some good tickets, and we're gonna have a pretty good time looking for a victory.
So my favorite thing, Army currently leads 4-2-1 in the Star Series this past weekend. Women's rugby won 84-0 against Navy. That's more than a point a minute shutout.
Good for them.
That's wild.
The record books only go back as far as Army has made it like a core squad sports in like 2014. So I don't know, like if anyone has the club rugby records out there. My addicted sports personality would love to see where this ranks in terms of all-time blowouts in both general Army Navy sports and specifically rugby. Because that's got to be easily top 3, if not the top.
Absolutely. I mean, it's crazy. That's wild. I saw that score. I posted on social media. I should be worth 3 stars. Being that bad. And that's crazy.
84. It's an 80-minute game, and then won 84-0. So
can we get a 1.5 in the Star Series for shutout?
I wish.
We amend those rules.
Anyway, all right. Well, that's all I got. Beat Air Force, gents.
Beat them.
Thanks for listening to this week's Ask for Football Army Football Show. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into Army football. Remember, whether you're cheering in the stands or following along from home, get all your updates on the Army football team at askforfootball.com. And as a special thanks, we would like to thank our sponsor, Jocelyn Bradley Real Estate. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, Jocelyn Bradley is the expert you need. Visit jocelynbradley.com for all your real estate needs. Don't forget, subscribe, leave us a review, and follow us on social media for all the latest updates. Until next time, go Army, beat Navy.